Peace and blessings and good morning. I have just woke up probably a few hours ago, and I had an inkling to do a video. So I'm in bed, and I'll soon go back to sleep before I have class in a few hours. And I wanted to talk about the need to be right and where that came from, at least for me. And just my thoughts on it, and I'm still thinking of communication, the effectiveness of communication, and how important it is to reach the people that you want to reach, or to not even necessarily reach, because I think that comes from the same thing or from the same line of thinking that the need to be right comes from. So I'm going to try to make this brief. Okay, the need to be right. As you're growing up, from very early on, you're taught that good and bad is reality, and good means you're making the people around you happy, and they like you, and they love you, and that's even your parents. And bad means you're just bad. You're just on the outside looking in. Nobody wants to deal with you. And that is the equivalent of right and wrong. Right means you have the approval of your parents. You make them proud. You get rewards. And wrong means you're just pretty much on the outside looking in. And this society keeps that duality playing much into our adulthood. We spend a lot of our lives wanting to be good, wanting to be right. It becomes a drive. I always talk to people. Well, let me say this line from the song by India Arie. She says, "I spent so much time trying to be right that I was dead wrong." And Christian values, or religion has a lot to do with that too. That play of right and wrong. How, often we want to be right. Like, we're taught, we sing songs about, I just want to be right, Lord. I just want to be right. Let me be right. Oh, let me be right. I just want to do right, be right, live right, talk right, think right, sing right, everything right. And so there's this thing that is ingrained in us that right is pleasing to God. I mean, who doesn't want to please God? Come on. We all want to please God. Even the people who say they don't believe in God want to please God. I mean, come on. You just want to please God. You want to please somebody. You just want to be right. There's a sense of accomplishment that comes with being right. So, and then you're taught that if you're right, everybody else has to be wrong. Like, I mean, you can't have two people be right. I mean, come on now. Both of you can't be making a point. And that's why I don't really like debates, because debate has never been about bridging gaps. Debate has never been about learning or seeing another person's viewpoint and seeing how what they say is right. Debate has always been about looking for the weakness in an argument. An argument is never to gain or to bridge a gap. It is always to prove our point. My point is, your point is. And so debate is about that. So you listen just to prove the other person wrong, just to prove that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And it builds up the ego. It boosts the ego. And it helps offset that lesson that we've been taught early on, that we're not good. We're not good. We're not good. We're not profound. We're not powerful. We're not this. We're not that. So we want to be right. We need to be right. We pray to be right. Somebody wrote me something sweet just now to tell me to tag them. But yeah, so we need to be right. It's very important to us to be right. And we spend a lot of time trying to be right. And trying to be right against someone else. Like, I'm right. And that's why, even in positive movements, you have so much dissension and separation, because you've been taught to debate. You've been taught to argue. You've been taught that that's critical thinking. It's critical thinking. Yes, it is critical. It's the death to a union. It's the death to self, because all these outer aspects are an aspect of self. And I know that seems hokey, and it used to be hokey to me too. So I spent so much time trying to be right that I was dead wrong. And then I got into Christianity. Oh my God. In my 20s, I got into Christianity strong. And being right was very important in Christianity, because that meant heaven or hell. That meant life or death. And and it still was ego. It's so funny because, it's like, I'm a minister. That title carries a weight and a prominence. And, it's just so funny in learning like Zen and Buddhism, like titles, learning Tao, learning the way of the heart. It's like titles, that shit don't mean nothing. How effective are you at reaching and communing and becoming one with the people around you? Because that's what it's about. It's about being aware. It's about touching people and loving them and helping them to grow. It's not about being right. And that need to be right cripples so much. And you have to ask yourself, if at the end of the day all you can say is, I was right, what is it worth? I have been guilty of losing great relationships, but I was right. I proved my point. And a lot of what me and my ex-fiance did, a lot of our demise came from proving points. I had my point to prove. He had his point to prove. And I always say this, proving a point is not worth your relationship. Because a lot of times you'll find that your points aren't based on as much solid foundation as you want it to be. It's just principles, and principles can become principalities. We get caught up in what respect means and what respect is. And a lot of times we miss that, like, what we have founded respect around is just concepts, and concepts change all the time. Something that you think is pivotal today won't be pivotal to you tomorrow. You will grow, you will change. So I wanted to be right. I needed to be right. And a lot of times I was right. I was right. I was a good girl. I wasn't doing things that, the Bible said that you shouldn't do. I wasn't having sex. I was working on cleaning up my cussing. I was in church. I was a tither. I was right. I worked. I've been working since I was 11 years old. I've always been right. As a child, I came into a situation where I had parents that had certain issues, and issues aren't bad. That's not a bad word. We all have issues. Issues aren't negative. Some issues are good. Some of your issues are positive. Issues just are issues. That's what they are. And they're there to allow you to catapult into new areas of greatness and understanding. So my parents had issues. Drug and alcohol issues. My father was kind of abusive, he was abusive to my mother. So I came out into the world being a voice of reason and peace, being a mediator between my parents very early on. And that builds up a lot of ego. People begin to seek you out for advice, and I give thanks. I'm not ego tripping right now. I give thanks for the lessons that I've been taught, and the things that I've learned, and the grace that I've been given to be able to be a mediator, to heal the wounds, to see what I saw so that I could see certain things and to see the need that everybody's hurt. There's nobody in this system or in this world that's not hurting on some level or one level or another. We all are. That's the reality. We all are. We've all been bruised. We've all been lied to. We've all been told that something was this and it was something else. And we're all lying to ourselves. How about that revelation? And we have to get to a place where we stop lying to each other and to ourselves. And that's a lot of what the right and wrong thing is. It's fluff. You know, it's peacock feathers. It's more the mask. I'm writing this, and you know, that's why I try to help shape our ideas around mistakes and failures, like to really get away from looking at mistakes and failures, because we see flaws as being bad, that old message of good and bad. And our parents didn't mean to instill that duality in us. They were doing what parents think they should do. A lot of times being right is going off of what somebody else's concept of rightness is, and it's just unfortunate that that's more important than us building and growing together and loving one another. And what I have found, and what I'm always finding, is that the more I allow myself to open, the more I can see that there's right in everything. For instance, I like this analogy that I came up with. I think thought is big. Like, it's this thought is so huge. It's like the universe. It's just one big, large nothingness or everythingness. And let's say it's like a house. If I'm in a house and I'm in the front of the house and all I can see is the front of the house, I would think that that's all there is to that house, is the front door, the windows, whatever. If I go inside the house, there are many rooms. Well, maybe I'm in the kitchen and somebody else is upstairs. My reality says there's a refrigerator, a sink, a stove. Their reality might say there's a bathroom, you know, a toilet, a sink, and mirrors. And we could argue all day long. Well, no, it's a refrigerator. Well, it's a mirror. And we could have all the facts to point that. And let me tell you about facts. Most people do not research to disprove what they believe. They only research to uphold what it is they've already decided. So for every evidence I can show you that something existed, I can show you 45,000 more examples of why it did not. Unless you were there and you saw it all and you were in the moment, you don't know. Unless you have really good ancestral connects and insight, whatever. But so the reality is, the house is the whole house. But from different angles, the truth changes. If I'm at the roof, I don't know that there's a couch. I don't see no couch. There's no couch. And I got all my evidence to support it. I can take pictures. I can write papers. That's what thought is. It's huge. So you're right. But are you effective? Are you an effective communicator? Are you an effective person in bridging the gap? Healing means bridging gaps. It means finding areas where rightness can be had by the whole. It is also understanding, and now going back to me, I could be such a pompous asshole because I know a lot and I've been through a lot and I experienced a lot. So when other people were talking about shit they read, I was talking about shit I lived. And you know, people coming to me for advice, I began to walk with an air of I know what I'm talking about. Yes. And because of that, I had judgments on what other people should have been doing with their life. Like, no, I still don't like that my mother drinks. My mother still drinks. And I don't like it, but it's her right. And then we'll say, well, something like that is wrong. Like, you shouldn't be drinking. You shouldn't be doing drugs. It's wrong for me. It ain't wrong for them. And then, you know, people will get into the, you know, into the blurry area. Well, it's okay to smoke weed, but it's not okay to smoke crack. okay, to you. But to the person who wants to smoke crack, it's okay for them. I'm not endorsing anything. I'm not. I'm saying people have a right to choose their own life. That was the hardest lesson that I think I have learned on this journey, and I'm still learning it. I still have way too much opinion about what other people are doing and why and how. And then I still have crusader missionary in me, which means I want to save everybody. I want to save people from their own thinking. I want to save people from each other. I want to save people from beating up on other people that aren't doing what they want to do. And even in that, I have to find a balance that it's not my job. It's not my job to correct everything. All I can do is be an example of the truth that I'm living, and continuously open myself to let go of the need to be right, to justify my need to be right, and to look at where that is coming from. What in me feels so good about being right over someone else? That superiority, inferiority bullshit. That is inadequacy. That is futile. You're right, but at what expense? I would much rather love the people that I love and find a way to find a commonality between us so that we can build and show each other better ways to be healed and to be whole than to be right by myself. To be right and lose the very thing that I most want. To be right and shut down the person I most want to open up. So what is the price of being right? And is it really being right? As a believer, I was so right that Jesus was the only way. As a conscious person, I was so right that, gotta fight the powers that be. As an enlightened one, I find that fighting outside generally means that you're fighting a lot inside. And I found different ways to be powerful. And in that, I find that love is very powerful. I'm still not a perfect communicator. I have my stuff with me. I hide from people sometimes. I shut down. I block out. And sometimes I'm still trying to prove something. But who taught us that we needed to prove something? And where does that come from? Does that come from feeling wrong so much that you need to be right? And right to who? And right for what? I don't know. Rightness is different for all of us. Righteousness is what we should want. And righteousness means I come in love, I come in peace, and I come to take the broken and make it whole to the best of my ability. I don't want to be right. I want to be love. That's just me. For those who need to be right, be right. But really count the cost. What is it going to bring you in the end if the very people that you most want to touch can't hear you over your ego? What is it really saying about you that you need to be right over someone else? Be patient with each other. Be patient with yourself. I love you. Peace.